Jordan Peterson. The Canadian-born clinical psychologist just made headlines recently due to an interview that had a charged ending, to say the least. There were many interesting points made and ideas touched upon in this interview that I'm about to talk about, and it's definitely worth a watch if you haven't already. I highly recommend that you do, so that you can stay in the loop of things. But in this video, I'm going to be going over specifically what happened towards the end, as well as my thoughts throughout. But before we get into that, what's up? It's your boy Jose, hustle every day, mind over matter, mental tussle every day, and we are back. Yes, you heard me. We are back with another banger of a video. Yo, editor me, can I get some explosions in the background, my boy? Yeah, that was lit. But anyways, I don't want to get too carried away in the intro. I just want to take a little time to say hello to any new viewers and any returning viewers. If you are a new viewer, hello, nice to meet you. My name is Jose. I hope you are here to stay, or at least stay for the video. And if you enjoy the video at the end, please give me a like and a sub. Y'all already know we trying to catch those dubs. Ain't no Fortnite, bro. It's YouTube, like, you know what I mean? Because I don't anyways. But my returning subscribers, welcome back. I hope you guys didn't miss me too much. I try my best not to stay away, but we're here today, so we gonna play. And yeah, I really don't got much else to say. Let's just get into this. So Jordan Peterson, savior of the damned or destroyer of our worlds? Let's find out. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, Jordan Peterson is a clinical psychologist and a professor emeritus who has taught at schools like Harvard University in the US and the University of Toronto in Canada. He has been a very popular figure within the last 5 years, and he's gained an incredible following globally due to his intellectual and moral views on various topics, his debates with numerous people, and his best-selling books. What really got him on the radar for people were his controversial takes on gender, feminism, and masculinity, among other things, which in 2022 isn't too surprising when we find ourselves in such a fluid societal state, if I do say so myself. He's traveled the world filling seminars with hundreds of people, conversed with popular figures like Joe Rogan, Patrick David, and Ben Shapiro, and due to these achievements and milestones, he's gained global recognition from fellow intellectuals, everyday people, and internet trolls alike. Now, Peterson is no stranger to negative press and criticism, and he himself has even admitted the fact that some of what he says can be seen as controversial, but it doesn't stop him from sharing his mind with the world. After all, his unapologetic honesty plays a role in why he's so revered in today's time. So just for research purposes for this video, I watched the full interview to better understand it as a whole and to understand any potential context for the clip's sake. And I'll be leaving a link down below for anyone who wants to watch it as well. I highly suggest you do after you watch this video. No, seriously, you better leave, I swear. Anyways, moving on, we set the stage. On September 28th, 2022, a video was uploaded to YouTube where Jordan Peterson found himself in London, England on Piers Morgan Uncensored, a talk show platform hosted by the British broadcaster Piers Morgan himself. They had about an hour together where they talked on topics such as who Jordan Peterson is as a person, his goals, and why people have demonized him to the extent that they have. It was truly an interesting conversation, but the true gem was at the end of the interview. Let's take a look.
I've got to wrap it up. I don't want to, but I have to. I want to ask you just quickly, the film director Olivia Wilde has a new movie out, which she says is based on you, this insane man, this pseudo-intellectual hero to the incel community. Incel being these weirdo loner men who are despicable in many ways. Is that you? Are you the intellectual hero to these people?
Sure. Why not? You know, people have been after me for a long time because I've been speaking to disaffected young men. You know, what a terrible thing to do that is. I thought the marginalized were supposed to have a voice.
It's making you emotional. Talk about that.
Well, God, you know, it's very difficult to understand how demoralized people are. And certainly many young men are in that category. And you get these casual insults, these incels. What does it mean? It's like, well, these men, they're They don't know how to make themselves attractive to women who are very picky, and good for them. Women, like, be picky. That's your gift, man. Demand high standards from your men. Fair enough. But all these men who are alienated, it's like they're lonesome and they don't know what to do, and everyone piles abuse on them.
You've been so controlled today, and yet in that brief moment, you got very emotional. Why?
It's really something to see constantly how many people are dying for lack of an encouraging word. And how easy it is to provide that if you're careful. You know, give credit where credit is due. And to say, you're a net force for good if you want to be.
Do you believe you're a net force for good?
Net, yes. In all the details, probably not. You know, no one's perfect. So people make their mistakes as they stumble uphill.
All right, that was the clip. You guys watched it, so now you know the context. And now we're gonna break it down and talk about it. So to close off the interview, Piers Morgan brings up some comments made by Olivia Wilde regarding Peterson. Olivia is an American actress and movie director, apparently. She was recently working on a movie called Don't Worry, Darling, and when asked about the movie and some of the inspirations for characters, including the antagonist, she mentions how Peterson was the inspiration for Frank, the antagonist of the movie, due to the fact that she believes Jordan Peterson to be this pseudo-intellectual hero to all incels. And while that description of Peterson could be further from the truth, I ask that you hold on to it because we will talk about it in the near future. Morgan goes on to ask Peterson about his take on being called a hero to all incels, and Peterson pretty much says, sure, why not? Now, while Morgan described these guys as being weirdo loner men who are pretty despicable, Jordan Peterson describes them as being disaffected youth, and he states how people have constantly been after him, harassing him over his choice to help these young men. He takes a second to ironically state how terrible it must be to help disaffected youth in today's society, right before you begin to see discomfort, a discomfort that expanded into more than just that in a span of a few minutes and went viral shortly thereafter. After a brief pause, Peterson then said that he thought the marginalized were supposed to have a voice, which is a pretty brilliant statement to make in this situation. To be marginalized is to belong to a group that is discriminated, excluded, and treated as being insignificant. There are a lot of different types of marginalization, and some of those could be social, educational, and psychological. A good example of this could be how Rhaenyra, a young princess from the show House of the Dragon, really popular show right now, is sexually marginalized because her father, the then king of the realm, wants her to be the new ruler, and yet many find her unsuited due to her being a woman, and most people in that realm believing that men are more capable leaders. But definitions aside, Morgan asked Peterson if it is making him emotional talking about this topic, which obviously it is. But anyways, Peterson exclaimed how it can be really hard to understand how demoralized people are, and these young men in particular are very demoralized when it comes to this topic, especially since people are just casually throwing insults like calling them all incels who hate women and hate all of society altogether. He goes on to state how these men find it hard to attract women and are very lonesome, and how women are picky and have high standards. Of course, it's not bashing women or telling them that it's bad for them to have these higher standards. It's simply one of those things where it's kind of like a change with the times that we live in, and just pointing out that because of the change, there is also an equal and opposite change. You know, a reaction brings about another reaction, so on and so forth. Piers Morgan continues to ask Peterson why is it that this topic bothered him so much to the extent that it did. Jordan replies very simply that it is really something to see constantly how many people are dying for lack of an encouraging word, and how easy it is to give that if you're careful and give credit where credit is due. So I think that what Peterson is saying with that last bit is really important. We currently live in a society that's honestly not really doing us any favors collectively. it's really just individualistic, and it's pushing a lot of negative narratives about men and women as a collective towards each other, separating us and pushing us further away from each other. And while I cannot fully speak for the experience of women on that end, I can speak for the experience of men, and so can Jordan. And I believe that from what Jordan is saying, these negative narratives and this misinformation is leading towards a group of young men who aren't really experiencing things at all in life, let alone socializing with women. And, with the current way that society is, these groups get alienated, and that alienation can be really depressing. It's really depressing, really crushing, and it could turn into anger very easily, as a group of these men can demonstrate anger towards women and society as a whole. Now, while there aren't realistically that many quote-unquote incels, guys who just shut themselves off, hate the world, hate women, hate everything, it's increasing due to the fact that more and more men are finding themselves without a positive role model, a man in their life, right, who can instill a purpose for being as a man. And when you don't have that as a young boy going into manhood, it can be very hard to deal with how you feel about things, women included. It can be very hard, and with women it's a very special case, because at that point you're not only dealing with your emotions and how you're feeling, but you're also dealing with another person. But unfortunately, we find ourselves in a societal state that fears masculinity and demonizes it to the utmost extent. And in its place, we put feelings, emotions, how we should feel about things, the small things, the big things. Hell, everything has become this super complex maze to work our emotions and interactions through nowadays. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't listen to your feelings and think things through before you do things, but it becomes a bad thing when you don't have that balance between your emotions, how you feel, how things make you feel, and your mental fortitude, your mental control over those feelings. And when you, especially as a man, lack that emotional grip over your feelings, you tend to be a very reckless individual, which manifests in your physical actions. And it can and will destroy you if you do not seek out that balance over time. And we also have the advent of modern day feminism, empowering women in every sense, from the very top echelons of society to the very bottom, and encouraging women en masse to be independent and not rely or trust men, because men make up the patriarchy that suppresses them. They demonize masculine male role models, diminishing the encouraging word that men need today, and people overall, while at the same time discouraging any credit given where credit may be due with respect to masculine males and the roles that they play in our society. That's what I think Jordan meant when he said that it can be easy to encourage people and to give credit where credit is due if you're careful, but people don't want to be careful. They want to be reckless, and they want to be heard. And when you get that mixed together, you get nothing but a bad outcome. You'll be misinterpreted. You'll make enemies of people that you didn't have to make enemies with, and you'll be burning bridges to get to the same conclusion you could have gotten simply by lighting the candle and having the conversation respectfully. This psychological dilemma could lead into a even more worst case scenario. When it comes to ending your life, men have also been known to lead in that, unfortunately, by a staggering amount. You have men who delete themselves at alarming rates because of that lack of encouragement in their lives, and they're going to continue doing so because, if you're growing up as a young man being hated simply for being a man, then it's a pretty hard rest of your life waiting for you. According to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, there were over 45,000 self-deletions in 2020, with an estimated 1.2 million self-deletion attempts. Now, of the ones that were unfortunately successful, over 36,000 of them were men, with another 9,000 being women. And according to these numbers, in 2020, men died by self-deletion 3.8 times more than women. Now, I'm not stating these numbers and comparing them to make it look like women do not suffer, but the numbers speak for themselves, and there's something going on. I'm almost 100% sure that Jordan Peterson, being a psychologist, knows the odds of self-deletion for men and how high it is, and I'm pretty sure he thinks about that a lot when it comes to the plights and troubles of young men today, which could very well be the reason why he cried and got emotional, because he did think about this. He thought about how people don't really care, and they're ready to raise a fist in rebellion simply because they can, or because they feel like they have to. They feel like they have to because they want to be right. But then again, feelings don't always justify things. They only justify what you want them to justify. And in some cases, they can justify the wicked upon the innocent. So to conclude this video, I think it can be very easy to understand where Jordan Peterson stands and comes from, and why he feels so deeply and gets emotional when talking about young men and the situation that a lot of them find themselves in. And I think it also becomes pretty sad when you realize that he's actually fighting for the betterment of people, and yet there are people who misinterpret his messages for messages of hatred and anger towards others. But of course, opposition is always to be expected in life, and that opposition can come in many forms. The most common form is ignorance, speaking without knowing. I think it is very funny that Olivia called Jordan Peterson the hero to all incels because of her little movie, but in reality, Jordan Peterson is against the incel mentality.
Definition of who you are.
Well, one of the things I've said continually, and this is on record in multiple places, it's like, okay, so you're a young man, and all the women are rejecting you. Who's got the problem? It's not all the women. That's a bad road to go down. If all the women are rejecting you, it's you.
Now, I understand that it's easier to make shallow opinions about things, subjects, people, ideas, than it is to really dive deep, analyze, and understand things for what they really are. It takes a lot of brain power and time, things that are very precious to us. But why do that when you can just paint all the evil with the same brush and get it over with? It's a lot easier to do that than to actually think. The same way it's a lot easier to give up than it is to get up. Now, personally, I think Jordan Peterson is a great role model for young men here in the US and globally around the world. I see him as a role model myself, as a young man who is growing and learning every day. I think that Olivia, as well as the many people out there like her, make their assumptions and opinions about Jordan out of willful ignorance, or out of the fact that they might be too far gone in their own opinions to really care to hear other people. Now, this could be both in Olivia's case, and because of that, I think she should just stick to making her shitty movies. But I'm not just gonna hound on Olivia and her shitty movies, because if I'm being very honest, I think all of us do this from time to time, including myself. I think we are all guilty of making assumptions quickly out of thin air due to convenience and wanting to be willfully ignorant to save us the time and the effort of actually finding things out for ourselves. And I think that we should all try our best to not do that, because we can definitely do a lot of harm because of those things. Just like I've done harm doing those things to people, and vice versa. We should always try to understand each other. We should always strive for understanding so that we can minimize the pain that we inflict on each other. And it's always worth it, because the same way that your words can kill, your words can also save. And that is a power unlike any other. So before you say things out of pocket, out of line, out of ignorance. Remember to give credit where credit is due and to encourage rather than bring down. Now, if you liked this video, make sure to leave a like. If you got something out of this video that you might be able to use tomorrow, make sure to leave a like. If you learned a new perspective, make sure to leave a like. If you just like to hear my soothing voice inside of your ear, make sure to leave a like. Share this video with your friends and your family, because we are not stingy here. We show love where love wants to show and grow and go. You feel me? And I want to go to the top. I'm not trying to be in these YouTube trenches forever, so make sure to hit that sub button, sub up, so we can get that club up. You feel me? I'm of course very glad I made this video. It took me a while, but we have finally reached the end. And make sure that you go and share this. I already said that. Fuck. It's late. Guys, it's been me, your boy, Jose Hustle, with none other than the very own, well, my very own Gamo Gang, our very own Gamo Gang. And I will catch you guys in the next installments of this channel. But in the meantime, make sure you guys remember to shoot for the stars, aim for the moon, and know that no matter where you land, you will always be out.